what?
Yeah, right.
Why wouldn't we be good? You're here. Like that should tell you. All right.
Right.
That tells me a lot. Again, how spaces you're in normally, right? What's up, everybody? Coach Lyndon and
Coach Debbie here.
And we're doing our second Coach's Corner of the week. We just did one yesterday. We usually like to let a day or two between things before we talk, but said there's just so much that's been coming up. Also, we're off schedule a little bit, so this one's gonna be super short.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be pointed, and we're gonna chat. So, if you like our videos, and make sure that you share with someone else who could use a different perspective. So, today's conversation was super interesting, right? Like you can tell hurt people. You get what I'm saying? And we won't mention any names of people because I never want people to feel like we're going after them particularly. But if you watch these, you know who you are, you know what we've talked about, so you know where I'm going. Recently, or just this morning, I had a conversation with one of our members, and they shared with me how they were resisting the process, basically. The process of, like we just talked last time about the 3 steps to being part of community. And I could feel their resistance to plugging in, right? Like they actually have a lot of different spaces and places they can go and talk through things and share and be part of it. And they mentioned how they have so many places that they have to go do that regularly. And when I heard no filling of their cup, right? So I was like, well, it sounds like you give a lot, but it doesn't sound like you receive a lot. I was like, do you have places you can receive? And the answer after some deliberation was no. They were like, no, not really. I was like, well, welcome to your first space. And I said, but to be real, receiving, especially when you're not used to it, feels awkward and it feels a little wrong, right? Because you spend so long not receiving. So I guess using that as a catalyst.
That is interesting.
I was gonna say, we both understand that, right?
Yeah, I currently understand that.
Right. We both understand that on another level. So I wanted to talk about, I definitely had to take that drink, my throat dry. I wanted to talk about how you view that situation. Like what did that look like to you? What did you get from that conversation, from what you could hear?
So from what I could hear, but also what you're talking about now, I viewed that more as, I always see both sides of the coin. So like, from that person's side, as an outside perspective, I'm like, yo, definitely hurt people, and also I'm looking at the situation and I'm like, healed people heal people. Like there is balance. Like they're both infectious to an equal degree, if you can heal from your hurt, then that is transformative to the people around you. Just in interacting, you don't have to say nothing. And I think that's what I'm seeing too. I think it's funny that it comes up at the end of everything. I just read a Jim Carrey quote. It said that you only have 2 choices in life, and it's love or hurt. And it's like, you get to choose love every time. And I was like, I kind of definitely resonate with that. I won't say kind of, I definitely resonate with that. In that every decision that I make, it does come down to the fear of being hurt again. Like if I'm not authentic to myself, it's because of fear, and I see it crop up in everyone else in the way that I feel it in myself. And I think that's how we're all connected. Like just earlier, Cora jumping on the box, I've seen her jump on higher stuff, like in play, not thinking about it. And then when it comes to actually having to face the obstacle over and over, yeah, it's like fear crops up and it stops you from doing the thing that's hard. I think that's cool about this person is that they did approach you.
Yeah.
It's like there's obviously fear there in approaching the conversation. And it took me back to when we first connected, like we were on the phone and you were like, we should meet for coffee. And I'm pretty sure I said, Nah, I'm pretty sure I said no. I was like, I don't want to do that.
That probably was true. That's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Like the fear is it's unfounded from what I saw, you know, and it's really, I had to break it down. It was based on past hurt by someone of that archetype, you know. But then that's me not seeing the actual person, not seeing the actual man. It's like, yeah, there are archetypes, but those keep you safe, you know, like they're defense mechanisms. And when you do want to connect deeper with someone, you got to let go of the armor. We all know this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, letting that armor is being like, oh yeah, there's fear behind getting to know this man because what if? Because what if? Yeah.
I think to like kind of pull it together a little bit, like talking about both things. Yeah, you're spot on. I like that you said heal people, and hurt people, but heal people. Yes. That's what the whole journey is about for me, right? Like anything I share, anything I do, it's that. It's just, no, I know what it was like for me to receive the healing, and I remember what it took. So I've been that person for other people because someone was there for me. So when they showed up, you could tell it was the hurt first, right? And their original question when they asked was about like why the way it was done. Almost like, well, why didn't we just talk about it over here, right? And I was like, that's not how open, brave culture works. You can't have a conversation to the side and say, this is a open, brave space. Has to be more open. There are times for side conversations, like one-on-ones and things of that nature. However, when it comes to something that is like talking about operating in fear, that's a culture moment, right? Like to me, that's a moment where you say, again, do we operate in fear, right? And I explained to them, it's so funny watching someone try like walk through a thing that I'm explaining, and then they're still like, well, I'm not there yet. So they're talking about the thing I just explained, right? And then they end up at the conclusion of the thing that I just explained, right? And I watched that process time and time again. And what was so interesting in this was they didn't realize that was what I do, right? Like when they were talking to me, they were just like, it just seems like you weren't even talking about the same thing. I was like, we weren't though. Like you were talking about how you felt and how important that is to you. And I was talking about what it means to create a culture that doesn't operate in fear. You are absolutely correct in saying that we're having different conversations, but there's a strength in that, right? There's a strength that says that I have what you need. And when she offered the different perspective about how another individual who was involved felt, I got it. I was like, got it, right? Like maybe it didn't land, but that person asked questions later as well. So yeah, it was interesting watching them walk through it. And then because we've done that a couple different times, it's been done where like, you know, someone will go to talk to someone on the outside, and as long as that person is truly plugged in, the answer is always the same.
Bring it back.
Bring it back. That's literally
Bring it
the
back
answer
to the community.
every single time. Like I love that. Right?
I love that too.
Yeah,
that's what I've been looking for in my life.
Yeah, I thought, you know, when they mentioned, like, it's so funny because Sarah's like plugged in, right? But if you knew Sarah and you talk with Sarah, you'd be like, is Sarah plugged in? Yeah. Right? Just because of Sarah being Sarah. And it's so funny, like, hearing that they went to Sarah and Sarah was like, you need to talk to him.
Well, you want to know what's crazy about Sarah?
Shoot.
I think that Sarah was plugged into a similar ethos before the space. So being on board with like the ethos here was kind of natural.
Fair.
You know?
Yeah.
I think even before this space, Sarah would have had the same advice.
Interesting fact, right? So that leads me to think about whether Sarah is plugged in to this community in the way that's necessary for her to get her change. And it's just, and again, this is what it means like to be in space. Like, maybe Sarah will never be plugged in with me particularly the way that she needs to receive her healing. I think that's the thing. I don't think it has to be for me, but I do think it needs to be with the community, right? And, you know, you guys have had some changes in dynamic where you're now all living in similar space. And now there's real like seeing each other. Like when you get close to someone like that, there's no more hiding. Hiding becomes a thing of the past. And if you are hiding in space like that, I mean, it shows. Like it's very easy to see.
Uncomfortable for everyone.
Correct, that you're not doing the same things as everyone else, so to speak. So I laugh when I think about this situation because they're not the first and they won't be the last. But ironically, I'm seeing myself get better at handling those situations.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like
I see it too.
Yeah.
And I see that the community is like growing.
That was the second thing I was going to say. Watching the community help that person see the truth, because I don't want to say names, but I'm trying to draw my point without names.
Yeah.
There was another yoga instructor we had, and I remember
saw them
a
at Pride.
similar fair. There was a similar instance that happened, and when that similar instance happened, this teacher, not understanding of ethos, validated this person, and it caused them to disconnect, right? So now to see the opposite happening is good. Like that's how it should.
Correction was made.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and again, I don't wish no bad on this person or no junk like that. But it's just it's the whole like. It's funny that they've started coming back here. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, because this is the same person that fought me on what it means to be here, and now they're coming back here.
We were talking about this yesterday. I was like, this shit blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Like, how wild it is, like, to know that, like, light persists, you know, like, people always head towards the light, you know? And to think you're showing light, or to want to show light, and then be like, I'm not quite sure if I am, if it's landing. And then people leave, and you're like, I'm definitely not sure if it's landing.
Right.
And then people are like, I went everywhere else. And no one's shining light like this. I'm back, I'm sorry.
I was wrong.
Wait, not even I'm sorry.
I was so wrong.
Not even I'm sorry.
I couldn't
I'm just
find
back.
anything better. I tried to get away from you.
I can't stand that this is the only place.
Okay, that was a funny conversation.
I'm like, dang.
I just want you to know, you're the best. And I was like,
I went everywhere.
cool. All right. So this contract, like that was pretty much my. Yeah. I said, and you know, it's like one of those funny moments. I'm like, I wonder if this is how Jesus felt. Like when he be talking to somebody, like you get what I'm saying? Like keep it real. Like it's that you know you're giving out truth. You know it's helpful. You know it's gonna be good for people. It's like how did someone who told you the truth, like historical figures, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, like they telling you what's necessary in order for things to move forward. You part of a whole movement, you tell them they wrong, and then you got to come back, put your foot in your mouth.
Yeah.
Like those moments, man.
But that's how you know it's strong, because I think there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of like embarrassment around having to put your foot in your mouth and be wrong. Yes. And if you know your healing is somewhere, then like that's the humility you need to get through the door to your healing.
Yeah, I definitely like to think that the individual that came forward today, I hope that they saw the importance of doing so. Like, I definitely hope that they got the message, and it was so funny, even when they came to me and they were like, "You just kept bringing it up," and I said, there's a lesson there. Like, there's the lesson that was supposed to be taught, and then I had to share, like, my bend is to make sure that you know through it, you have support, because most of us don't feel supported. And listening to them say how agitated they were that they couldn't turn around without seeing that I cared was mad interesting.
No, that actually was the most interesting part to me.
Yeah, that was funny. And then they explained, again, some things with their parents, how it felt platitude-y, like from their own lives that made it feel not so great. I was like, okay, so now it makes more sense. But again, I would never have had that context if you didn't share it, right? It was that type of conversation. So it was funny, but also awkward. And I was just like, yeah, you got to tell people that. Like, I didn't know that. Like, there's no way for me to know that. And then we had a deeper conversation. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting being on this side, and like people don't know how many people I lost to get this far. I do. People don't know how many people have left for me to go this far. I do, right? So when we have moments like that, and someone comes in and they think they're challenging you for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause they're challenging you themselves.
Yeah.
So for them, it is the first time. But I've got backing that shows that what I'm saying makes sense, and I'm convicted in it. So watching someone turn around is a joy, but also like a moment of, okay, like this is what I'm doing it for. Got it. So that's what I got from today's conversation. I got that number one, what we're doing is changing lives, and hearing how they went to so many people to try to prove to themselves or validate something about how they felt about the interaction. I don't know what, but to validate stuff about themselves, and then to talk to me, or for those same people to tell them, you have to talk to him. Like, talk to him. No, you have a problem with it. I'm telling you, what you think it is ain't what it is. Talk to him. So we have another friend with it who has a similar situation in their space, and that didn't happen.
That didn't happen, right?
Right. And that individual is now dealing with the fallout of that not happening, right? And I think our, first of all, I will give myself the credit of saying that the way I do things is different. But I will also say that anyone has the capability to do it. It just takes a lot of humility.
Yeah.
You know? If someone comes yelling in your face, is it really about you, or is it about what they're experiencing? Like, you gotta know. Because I couldn't take being yelled in the face when I didn't understand. I was angry about it. I'd be like, yo, man, you really need to back up. Like, I was not happy about being talked to in a negative context. So now, watching people try to understand how to walk it is interesting. Again, they handled this well. The way they came in, the humility they showed became the bridge that connected us.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we all missed the mark a little bit that way. Right? How many times I'm asking you this, but for myself, plenty of times. How many times have you missed the mark because your humility was lacking?
In the last week?
I shared the last week.
3.
In the last week.
3 that I can count that I'm aware of.
Fair, man. Like, and again, isn't it interesting how you coming into your own is stripping away all of that bravado? Yeah. Like, if you really want to grow, the bravado's gotta go.
It's gotta go.
It's kind of weird,
That's a
right?
Shirt, my dude.
Is
that not a shirt?
If you want to grow, the bravado's gotta go. Hey,
that's a shirt.
Hey, all right, fair enough. We gotta write that one down. But it's interesting how that really is the case. Yeah. Like, you cannot, in order to lead, especially lead like in a way that's healthy, I'm sorry, your ego's the last thing you're not gonna be able to do it well. The funny thing is, you need ego.
You do need ego.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you absolutely need ego to do what we do. And I gotta think I'm the best.
It can't be artificially inflated.
That's okay, fair. You know what? Good way to put it. I was gonna say, I gotta think I'm the best, right? Like, we joke with each other about being better than one another, and it's a friendly competition, but at the same time, like, still, you want to be the best.
Yeah.
Right? So then to have that thing now be negative in another area of your life is so interesting to me. Yeah. Right? So an ego death is required. 100%. So I just laugh because, again, based on the nature of what we do, you need both.
It teaches you the lesson.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is in this space. Is like the kettlebells are like you know, like they require, in order for you to use them consistently, they require you to have an ego death and to like be humble in a certain way.
Yes.
And same with you, like you said you're like sandpaper, just interacting with you consistently requires ego death, you know, requires you to be like aware. You know, like humility to me, or being humble, feels like just being aware, being able to say, oh yeah, I'm dope, and also I'm lacking here, you know.
Aware and flexible.
Yeah.
Right, like not breakable, but aware and flexible. Like, it's not that whole. Again, you can't tell me how to lead me without listening to me. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, that's the whole thing. How do you know what you're doing works for me? You don't know anything about me. Right. So watching those moments is huge. And I want to say, what was I going to say? I was going to say something about how, again, it's interesting watching how I said last time, it was important that the coaches understand the ethos. The clients got it, right? And they're sharing it. And I'm like, okay, right? Versus before, I was very upset, confused, angry, just because I felt misunderstood, right? So when you heal, in order to heal others, you have to heal yourself. But the abundance that comes with it literally comes after like toiling, right? Figuring it out, going through it. And I think that's where you're at now. You're having a little bit of both, right? Some ego death, but also some abundance showing up in ways that you're like, I didn't even know this could be a thing.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Fair? You want to talk about it, or like not in detail?
The abundance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always want to talk about it.
All right.
That's what we're
I
here
always
for.
want to talk about it.
I say, if you ask me, do I want to talk about it? That's like the challenge. You know, that's the challenge
Fair.
I asked the universe for.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say last night. Last night I was talking about how I feel like I'm walking a space of I'm not used to receiving. And as I learn how to receive, I don't want to fall into a spot where I'm comfortable receiving, if that makes sense.
I think I get where you're
I want, like, the example is there's some water on a nightstand. And I like looked around real quick. I was like, yo, where my water at? I didn't even say it out loud. I just looked around. And Amy was right there. Like, I see him looking around. He's probably thirsty. I should get up and get that water, right? But we're both in the same spot, and the water is like equidistant. And I was like, you wanted me to get up and get that water? And I was like, yo, what do we do? Like, I gotta know what's going on here, because like, I don't mind you getting the water, but it feels like everything. You know, it feels like so much that I'm not used to receiving that I know I can do for myself. That I'm like, yo, if I get comfortable with this, now I'm not doing what I need to do for myself.
Fair. Well, you know what's funny? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna talk about how awesome Amy is in this moment.
Oh, yeah.
Right. She didn't just get the water for you.
She asked right.
if you wanted her to get the water.
Right.
Like, she's acknowledging what you want to do to give you the opportunity to lead. Right?
Which is why we had the conversation. It was beautiful. I was like,
fair. Because that, like, you know, and this is just me in general. I think most people could agree with it, though. You want your partner not to anticipate all of your moves, but also to complement what you do. Right. It's very nice when they can anticipate, but again, they have to listen first, have to learn you, and then they get a chance to anticipate because they know you. Right. So the fact that you've probably had conversations about that became the question that was asked in a considerable moment in the middle of the night. That means even in groggy, unaware type moments, they still see you, right? So yeah, I understand a certain level of, let's say, comfort that could come from being seen in that way, but also how comfort can feel complacent, and you don't want to be complacent. Yeah, listen, if anybody understands that, I've got a ton of beautiful stuff in my life where I could just be like, this is it, I'm good. But how I personally keep myself, it was actually what I was telling the person we were discussing. I was saying, you know, how I ran the 10, and at like 5 in, my knee started to really bother me.
Right.
And I started asking myself that question. I started asking myself the question of, you know, like we used to have those bracelets that used to say WWJD.
Yeah.
I was asking myself WWSD, WWLD. What would Skip do? What would Lauren do? Right? Like, what if my daughter sees me as her superhero, right? So the superhero version of me does not stop because of pain. They complete the task. They show up, they use their willpower to push through and really be something beyond where the limitation is. So, and I don't know if Em heard me, but I like completely blocked out that she was even there a little bit. And when I did, I said, you know, she was trying to ask me if I was okay, should we stop? I said, Skip wouldn't want me to stop, right? And I started moving, and like, I'm limping, like it's bad.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Lauren wouldn't want her dad to give up. It was like I can't show my face to my daughter giving up. She needs to know what it's like to not quit. And then all of a sudden my knee just, and I got back in the stride again. And I think I ran probably about a good mile and in excruciating pain before my body adapted. And the whole time, like, she was trying to talk to me, I was growling, I locked it. Like, I just locked it in and was like, this is it. Those moments have helped me to be the type of person who can be there for people in spite of themselves. The not give up, again, I'm here for something bigger than me moments, right? And watching the person I'm having this conversation with realize that I'm always working to be in that space was their aha moment. They were like, I just didn't see you. And again, what did I say at the beginning? We don't know each other that well, right? You don't know me like that. I don't know you like that. So this came across another way. So it was interesting. It was interesting in that regard. And then I could feel them wanting to ask why you push yourself so hard, which is why I answered with one of my reasons for why I push myself so hard, what it looks like for me to persevere too. So I'm hoping that lands. Hoping that lands for them, and they, you know, I think it did. But you never know.
Yeah.
Fair. I think that's the scary part too. You never know.
Yeah, that is. That is. Yeah.
Yeah, only time will tell.
It was funny because I was taking over the training session, so I don't know what was happening, but y'all was having a good talk, and I think I was just already in that energy when I started coming over here.
Yeah.
And Sasha was like, "All right, Coach Dan," because I forget what she said. Oh, she said, "I'm used to pushing through pain. I'm not used to pushing through fear." And I said, the funny thing about that is that all fear is pain. I'm like, not the other way around. Like, not all pain is fear, but to me, I'm like, there's not much difference between the pain of having fear crop up.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good statement.
push through it. I'm like,
All pain is fear. That's an interesting one.
yeah, because I'm like, we're jumping up on the box and I'm seeing it, you know.
So many people, man, don't think they're capable, and that's all we do all day. Show them they're capable, literally the whole day stint. So we're gonna cut it here because we can keep going. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're looking for how to get in touch with us, you can reach out on our website, www.gettingitdaily.com, or you can reach out to us in the comments below. Please, again, like and share. Find us on social media also under Getting It Daily. All right? Of course, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Peace.